UFC Perth Ulberg versus Reyes, and it's going to be late night, Saturday night, and it's going to be in Perth, Australia, and it's on Ageless Talk Sports. Hope you guys are having a great day. Dropping this Thursday at 5 o'clock, so be ready for that, and hopefully you get your picks in, because we're going to be talking about the main card for UFC Perth. Make sure you subscribe for all my latest content. Got over 1,000 videos there, and also I have over 500,000 views, so it's pretty good, but still not monetized. It's time for the Who You Got segment. You ready for this? We've been waiting almost 2 weeks, pretty much 2 weeks for this. Who You Got? We were off last week, so that's why you didn't see anything. I took a week off. I didn't do any Ohio State football. I didn't do any UFC. So taking a look at UFC Noche, this was in San Antonio, Texas. Who you got? Diego Lopez versus Jean Silva. Diego Lopez, obviously, with the spinning back elbow, drops Silva bad, as he already dominated in the first, gets him to the ground, and just dominates and destroys Silva with a KO. Shut up. Diego Lopez. I picked him anyways. So you guys picked 33 votes. This is the highest so far on AJ Let's Talk Sports history for a UFC fight on Who You Got segment. And Lopez at 88%. Silva only picked 12%. And there you go. Lopez gets the win. What's next for Diego Lopez? And what's next for the fighting nerds? Who knows? UFC Perth. Let's take a look at Tom Nolan versus Charlie Campbell. The lightweight bout between Nolan and Campbell is set for the main card at UFC Fight Night. Ulberg versus Reyes, September 27th, 2025. It's actually going to be September 28th local time at RAC Arena in Perth, Australia. This marks a homecoming fight for Australian prospect Nolan, who aims to build on his momentum against the undefeated in the UFC, American Campbell, who steps in on short notice after Nolan's original opponent, Evan Elder, withdrew to injury. So Campbell, the American, is going to be coming in with a short notice fight. Nolan, the big train, 25-year-old Australian, fighting out of Brisbane, Queensland, with a professional record of 9-1, standing at 6'3", with a 73-inch reach. Nolan trains at Team Compton Training Center. He's known for his striking power and length, with recent wins including a unanimous decision over Borshev at UFC 305. That was back in August of this year. His advantages include fighting in his home country, which could provide a moral boost and potential judging favor along with a short winning streak. However, he may face pressure from the home crowd expectations. Charlie Campbell, the Cannibal, a 30-year-old American from New York with a pro record of 9-2, at 6 foot, 72.5-inch reach, is pretty close. He trains at Longo's MMA and brings a well-rounded game with strong grappling and finishing ability. Campbell's on a short winning streak, highlighted by a first-round TKO over Trevor Peek back in September 2023. As a guest fighter, he faces disadvantages like potential judging bias and the challenges of traveling internationally. But his experience and adaptability make him a live underdog. Nolan holds edges in height, reach, and home advantage, while Campbell has a more knockout power and overall experience. Checking out the odds. Betting odds. Nolan is a slight favorite at -150 to -160, depending on what betting site you're going to be going. Campbell is at a +130 to +135. Expert picks are split, so who knows? It's a pick'ems fight, with some handicappers favoring Nolan's size and home advantage, while others pick Campbell for value at a 1 to 4 unit odd. So the Tapology community leans heavily toward Nolan at 79% to win, often by KO or TKO or decision. Though Nolan gets the homer, algorithmic models give Nolan a 54 to 59% chance, with potential wins split between KO 35%, decision 35%, and submission 30%. So really close. Who knows? It's a pick'ems. If Campbell pulls the upset off, it's projected by a decision or knockout. Decision goes 36% and knockout is 33%. So 35, 33 in between there. So not really good odds if you're trying to pick. So preview. This matchup promises an exciting clash of styles. Nolan's long-range striking and aggressive versus Campbell's grappling pressure and finishing instincts. So with Nolan enjoying the Perth crowd support and a physical advantage, he's expected to push the pace early. But Campbell's durability and counter wrestling could lead to a competitive scrap. Analysts note the short notice nature for Campbell. His last fight was over 500 days ago as a potential factor, but his undefeated streak in recent bouts as intrigue. So look for a possible finish in the later rounds if it goes beyond the first. The event is live on ESPN Plus, and it starts the prelims at 5. Take a look. I got, give me Nolan for Perth since Campbell's coming off of a short notice. That's the only reason. Matthews versus Magny. The welterweight bout between Matthews versus Magny is scheduled right after this fight. We're going right in order. So the RAC Arena, this matchup features Australian veteran Matthews looking to extend his winning streak against the battle-tested American Magny in a homecoming fight for the Celtic Kid, pitting youth and grappling against experience and reach. So take your pick. Jake Matthews, the Celtic Kid, a 30-year-old Australian from Melbourne, Victoria, with a professional record of 22-7. He's 15-7 in the UFC. 6 foot tall, 73-inch reach. Matthews trains at Fusion XL and is known for his well-rounded skill set, particularly strong grappling and submission skills. He's on a 3-fight winning streak, most recently beating Chitty in the first round back in July. That just happened. As a hometown favorite, he benefits from crowd support and familiarity with the environment, though his history of losses to top-tier grapplers could be tested here. Neil Magny, the Haitian sensation. He's 38, the American from Dalton, Illinois. He's not that far away from here. With a record of 30-13, he's 23-12 in the UFC. 6'3" and 80-inch reach. Trains out of Rough Sport and is renowned for his durability, high volume striking, and record-breaking longevity in the welterweight division. He's got most UFC wins in fights and significant strikes at 170 pounds at welterweight. Magny is coming off a second-round TKO over Eliza Zaleski dos Santos in August of 2025. So both of these fighters are coming off big wins, marking a second straight victory after back-to-back losses. His advantages include veteran savvy and reach, but travel and age could play factors against the younger Matthews. Matthews holds edges in recent momentum and submission threat, while Magny dominates in experience, reach, and overall volume stats. So here's your betting odds. Matthews is a heavy favorite at a minus 395, implied 76.6% probability, while Magny as the underdog at a plus 310. Common props favor Matthews by decision or submission. So who community and algorithmic predictions? Tapology. The Tapology community picks Matthews at a 75%, often by decision, 50% or 30%. So 50% odds for Matthews by decision. Take that bet. So Matthews controlling with grappling to secure a unanimous decision, though some see Magny's awkward style leading to a late TKO upset if the fight stays standing. Forum discussions highlight Magny's potential for a comeback but favor the Australian's pace in Perth. So here's the fight preview. This clash of styles, Matthews' close-range grappling and pressure versus Magny's long-range striking and cardio, could go the distance. With Matthews aiming to close the distance early to neutralize Magny's reach advantage, Magny's recent finishes add upset potential, but Matthews' home crowd and streak make him the safer bet for a grinding victory. Analysts expect a competitive main card fight that tests both fighters' welterweight rankings. So I'm getting Matthews. Back-to-back Australians. Aussie. Only because Magny is a little older, Matthews is younger, and they're in Perth. So that's how you do it. The Australians come to fight when they're fighting in Australia. So Jimmy Crute versus Ivan Erslan. So this matchup pits Australian veteran Crute looking to rebound in front of his home crowd against Croatian debut Erslan, who brings knockout power in an undefeated streak to the octagon. So check out The Brute, 29-year-old Australian from Bendigo, Victoria, with a professional record of 12-4, but he's 4-4-1 in the UFC. Standing at 6'2" with a 74-inch reach, Crute trains at Melbourne Fight Club and is known for his grappling-heavy style with strong submissions and ground and pounds. So his last fight was a draw against Alonzo Menifield back in February of 2023, following a string of losses and a knee injury that sidelined him for nearly 2 years. Fighting in Perth gives him a home crowd advantage, but he faces pressure to perform after a winless streak since 2020. Let's take a look at Ivan Erslan, a 31-year-old Croatian sensation from Zagreb with a pro record of 13-3. He hasn't fought in the UFC. He's making his UFC debut At 6'2", with a similar reach, he trains at American Top Team in Zagreb and is a former KSW light heavyweight champion. Erslan is on a 3-fight win streak, primarily via knockouts, with his most recent being a TKO over Bogdan Nitko back in March. As a UFC debutant, he faces challenges with international travel and octagon jitters, but brings dangerous striking and finishing instincts. Crute has an edge in UFC experience and grappling, while Erslan dominates in knockout power and recent activity. Checking out the betting odds. Crute is a moderate favorite at -180, while Erslan as the underdog at +150. Betting props favor Crute by submission or decision, as Erslan by KO or TKO. Now, Tapology community leans towards Crute at approximately 65%, predicting a submission or decision. They're going 40% for submission, 30% for submission. When due to his grappling advantage is home support. Erslan's knockout potential gives him a 25 to 30% upset chance, especially if he keeps the fight standing. Analysts note Crute's long layoff as a risk, but favor his experience against a debutante, a newbie. This bout contrasts Crute grappling and ground control with Erslan's heavy-handed striking and knockout threat. Crute will likely aim for takedowns to neutralize Erslan's power, while the Croatian will look to keep it standing and land a fight-ending shot. The Perth crowd could boost Crute, but Erslan's momentum makes him a dangerous underdog. Expect a high-intensity clash that could end early via submission or knockout, depending on who imposes their game plan. And I am picking the Croatian. I'm picking the Croatian, Erslan. I think he's only got a 25 to 30% chance for the upset, but give me the underdog on this one because he's only a +150, by the way. And it's a 40% chance that he'll get the win, and I think he's going to knock him out. And mind you, that he hasn't dude hasn't fought in a while. So I'm giving the Croatian guy. Let's do it. UFC Perth, Jack Jenkins versus Roman Tavares. This is the co-main event. So Jack Jenkins, I don't know what that means, but I'm sure it means something. A 31-year-old Australian from Sydney, New South Wales, with a professional record of 14-3, is 2-2 in the UFC. Standing at 5'10", with a 70-inch reach, Jenkins trains at Integrated MMA and is known for his explosive striking and knockout power. He's coming off of a unanimous decision against Gabriel Santos back in March, following a TKO win over Herbert Burns back in August. So fighting in Perth provides a significant home advantage, boosting his morale after an injury-plagued debut back in 2023. So taking a look at Roman the Savage Tavares, a 28-year-old American from Miami, Florida, the pro record of 10-1. He's 1-0 so far in the UFC. At 5'9", with a 70-inch reach, he trains at Killclip FC and earned his UFC contract via second-round TKO on the Dana White Contender Series last year, followed by a first-round submission win over an opponent in his debut. Missed weight for a prior bantamweight fight, though. That's notable. Tavares brings aggressive grappling and finishing ability, but faces challenges with international travel and dropping to featherweight for the first time. So he already had problems missing weight at bantamweight, and he's even going to go down to featherweight. So Jenkins edges in experience and striking volume, while Tavares has a stronger submission game and undefeated momentum. Taking a look at the betting odds. Jenkins is a favorite at a -240 at 71% if you round up, with Tavares as the underdog at a +205. He's at a 33%, so 71 to 33% probability. So the props lean towards Jenkins by KO or TKO or decision. Now, Tapology community favors Jenkins as a 72% off a decision for 45% decision, 30% TKO. Expert picks aligned, citing Jenkins' size at featherweight, home advantage, and the UFC's likely favoritism toward the popular Aussie. Expect a striking battle where Jenkins edges out a shootout. Tavares grappling could lead to an upset submission, 25% chance for that. This intriguing featherweight clash pits Jenkins' power punching and home energy against Tavares' versatility and finishing threats and youth. So Jenkins will push for a stand-up war to leverage his experience, while Tavares aims to close distance for takedowns. Analysts predict a competitive scrap that favors the Australian via late stoppage or decision, boosted by the Perth crowd. So that's a tough one for me. I might have to go with Jenkins. That's 3 Australian fighters so far on these picks. Now, you ready for the main event of the evening for UFC Perth and Australia? Aussie. Carlos Ulberg versus Dominick Reyes. It will be live September 28th at RAC Arena in Perth, Australia. This features New Zealand's rising star Ulberg riding a strong winning streak against a former title challenger Reyes, who aims to halt his skid in a pivotal fight for both. Carlos Black Jag Ulberg, a 35-year-old New Zealander born in Auckland of Samoan descent with a professional record of 11-1. He's 6-1 in the UFC, standing at 6'4" with a 77-inch reach. Ulberg trains at City Kickboxing and is known for his elite striking, derived from his kickboxing background and improving grappling. So he's on a 6-fight win streak, including a 12-second knockout over Ozdemir in June of 2025. This happened just a couple months ago, positioning him as a top 10 contender. Fighting close to home in Perth gives him a crowd boost, though he faces pressure to maintain momentum. Taking a look at Dominick the Devastator Reyes, 35-year-old from Hesperia, California, with a pro record of 13-4. He's 7-4 in the UFC. 6'4" with a 77-inch reach. They both have same reach, identical height, identical reach. This is going to be an interesting and crazy fight. He trains the Elevation Fight Team and is a former title challenger, and he lost to John Jones 5 years ago, back in 2020, if you remember that. Known for his athleticism and knockout power, Reyes is coming off a first-round knockout win over Waldo Cortez Acosta back in June. We just watched that a few months ago, snapping a 4-fight losing streak. So we're trying to prop him up after a 4-fight losing streak after he got the KO over Waldo. As an underdog, he faces challenges with international travel, but brings veteran experience and a chance to reclaim contender status. Ulberg has the edge in momentum and striking precision, while Reyes matches in physical attributes and has more UFC experience. Checking out the betting odds. Ulberg is a heavy favorite at a minus 400. 80% win probability for Carlos Ulberg, with Reyes as the underdog at a plus 310. He's only 24%. Props favor Ulberg by KO or TKO at a minus 150. Going or decision with Reyes' upset path via KO, he's at a plus 550. So Tapology community heavily backs Ulberg at 85%, predicting a knockout at 60%. So Ulberg gets the finish by knockout. Make that decision. But decision only goes 25%. Due to his speed and recent form. Now, experts highlight Ulberg's technical striking and city kickboxing game plan as key advantages. Some see Reyes landing a counter, but that's a 15% chance, by the way, if he exploits early aggression. So algorithms give Ulberg a 75 to 80% win probability, factoring in Reyes' durability, but noting his defense lapses against elite strikers. This main event pits Ulberg's crisp, versatile striking against Reyes' power and athleticism in a classic striker versus striker matchup. Ulberg will likely use his reach and footwork to pick apart Reyes. So while Reyes aims to close the distance for a brawling exchange where his power can shine, the Perth crowd, rooting for their regional favorite Ulberg, adds pressure on Reyes, who needs a statement win to re-enter title contention. Now, analysts expect Ulberg to dominate early, potentially securing a late TKO or decision. The Reyes experience makes an upset possible if he lands clean. Again, this is on ESPN Plus, live at 5. Start the early prelims. So who's ready for this matchup? Reyes versus Ulberg. This could be a strike. This is going to be a striker versus striker matchup. It could be an all-out slugfest at light heavyweight, or they might wait and take their time. I believe it's going to be a 5-round fight. So like usual, for the first 2 rounds or so, they're filling each other out until the 3rd round they might go after it. But who knows? Is Ulberg just going to come out and give it 100% and knock him out in the first? We'll have to wait and see. But give me Carlos Ulberg in this one via knockout in the 3rd. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Love you guys. God bless. Tip the waitress.